So I am out on a riding injury. So some fun things to do where I don't have to get in the saddle would be double lunging and ground driving. So I wanted to do a little video to show how I start working a horse. With that, I always start with the double lunge, which is a lunge with 2 lines. And when I start a horse, the first thing that I'll do is I will feed. You do need a surcingle for this. You can use a saddle, but it's more efficient if you actually use a surcingle. Those are pretty cheap to find. I think I got mine from Big D's, I want to say. But when I first start teaching a horse to give to the pressure of the bridle, I will actually feed my ground driving lines, and I made these lines. I prefer to use yacht line, which is what I use for my lunge lines and my reins as well, so it's got the same feel. I will first feed the snap through the bridle and attach it at the lowest ring on the surcingle. So what I'm trying to do is just work him on picking up the feel and the inside flexion. Here, this is how I start when I'm going to teach the ground driving, because he needs to understand what that pressure means. And so the exercise that I'm starting out with is I work in a spiraling exercise. I will bring him in and then I will push him out. And that is just teaching him to give to flexion on the inside rein. So I'm just spiraling him in and spiraling him out here. And when you're ground driving, there are a lot of tips and tricks when you're working with 2 lines. It's a lot going on, and when you've got your carriage whip as well, you always want to go hand over fist, and you want to have a soft hand on the line. You have to make sure that your horse is, first of all, desensitized to your lines. That means you need to be able to toss a line all around their feet, all around their butt, all over their back, around their head. Your horse also needs to be desensitized to the lunge whip. And so that takes a lot of prep work to get your horse okay with that, because if you have an accident and you've got multiple lines, you have to be able to think quickly and act on your feet. The other thing I will say about ground driving lines, they're very easy to get tangled up because they are so long, so you always want to hold them as if you're holding your reins. Like I said, hand over fist when you're drawing in and pushing out. See here, I'm pushing him out and I'm feeding the line back through. And I find it easiest when my ground driving lines are between my legs. I find that just easier to work with as far as keeping things from getting too tangled. And then I'm going to face him up. Now, when you start with this, you're going to have to change your rein to move to the other side. But notice, like I said, the snap is connected to the surcingle and it's connected to the lowest ring on the surcingle. This also helps with teaching collection, but you do manually have to change when you're moving to the other side to start out with this exercise. So again, I'm going to repeat that exercise on this side, the spiraling exercise, where I'm going to draw him into a tighter circle and then push him out to a larger circle, just working on the flexion from the inside rein. Boo break. Again, I'm going to feed my reins through, hand over fist, being very light on my rein, just working on the pressure from the inside rein. going to feed my reins back out and push him back out into the spiral. And then here I'm going to start drawing him back in and make a tighter circle. I don't particularly like using a lot of tools when I'm working with my horses, and a whip is one of them. I don't have a problem with it, but I like my horses to operate off a feel. So using it, but it is handy to have when you're ground driving. It's definitely needed. Your hands are full when you've got multiple lines going on. So you do need something to encourage the movement. So the next step is you're going to add your outside rein, and you're going to connect it through the surcingle to the bit as normal. We're just going to start introducing some outside rein pressure, and we're going to be doing the same exercise where we're going to be spiraling in and out. But this time, when we want to spiral out, we're going to introduce the outside rein and apply a little bit of pressure with the outside rein. So when you add both of your lines, this is called double lunging because you have two lines and you are going in a circle and lunging. So when you're working your reins, it's very important to keep your wits about you and think about which rein that you're working. I will hold them in one hand a lot of times when I need to, and I always like to keep my reins where they can slide through my hands. And again, hand over fist when you're drawing in, and I'm never heavy on my reins. So again, like I said, this is the same exercise. We're just introducing the outside rein when we're ready to spiral out. And I'll just tip his nose a little bit when I'm ready to push him out instead of pushing with my body. It's starting to work the double reins here. So again, we're just playing off that first exercise that we did. So the inside rein, the snap is hooked to the surcingle and fed through the bit. And then, like I said, your outside rein is connected normally. So here I'm putting a little bit of tension on my inside rein and I'm drawing him in. Now when you're using the one rein and you need your other rein to slide through your hands so you can give him some slack. And then here I've put a little bit of pressure on my outside rein to spiral him back out. It's give and take with each rein. And it is a lot to think about. It's like patting your tummy and patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. It takes a lot of practice to get this. And I have not done this with Phoenix in over a year, in all honesty, because he's been under saddle for a year. I started him on doing this when he had just turned 2. So it's been a very good while since we've done this. And when we want to stop our horse, we need to put pressure on both reins to ask for the stop. And then I always tell him to walk on. Having that rein around the butt is so helpful. This is why I was on a trail ride one time. I want to say it was probably Phoenix's maybe 8th or 9th trail ride, and he got a branch stuck in his tail and it got tangled between his legs, and he never once pitched a fit. We were out, way out in the middle of nowhere. But having that, when your horse is desensitized enough that you can use a butt rope and can do all these different things with them, I'm going to tell you, it makes a heck of a difference when you're out on the trail and something happens. So now I'm going to go back and do the same thing on the other side, where I have my inside rein is connected to the surcingle and is fed through the bit, and then my outside rein is connected normally. What we do on one side, we have to do on the other. And again, as I'm pulling this rope behind his feet, that's just another reason you desensitize your horse to any and everything. Here we're going back to the other side, and my inside rein is connected to the surcingle and has been fed through the bit. My outside rein is fed through the surcingle and connected to the bit, which is your normal position for ground driving. But here we're still double lunging, and we are just working. I'm working that spiral. I'm drawing him in to a tighter circle with the inside rein, and then I'm drawing him out to a larger circle with pressure on the outside rein. So right here I'm using my hand over fist motion, and I'm drawing him into a tighter circle using the inside rein, while also allowing the outside rein to slide through my hand and give him some slack. And here I'm going to put some pressure on the outside rein and feed the inside rein through to move him out into a larger circle. And again, it's, I'm keeping those reins between my legs. Sometimes it's a lot of moving around. Like I said, a lot of moving parts. You just really have to focus on what you're doing and have a clear mind to do this. And right here, I'm going to ask him for the whoa, and just by putting pressure on both of my reins, and we are ready to start ground driving.